You see the type of organization we have here? We could always use a man like you, Nathan. Educated, war veteran, clean record.
And so what's the overall objective?
This is revolutionary activity we're talking about here.
And that was a clip from Imperium, the new film starring Daniel Radcliffe as an FBI agent who takes on a new identity to infiltrate a radical right-wing terror group. Joining us to discuss the film is director Daniel Ragussis and co-writer Mike German, the former undercover FBI agent whose story inspired the film. Welcome, gentlemen. It's so nice to have you here. Daniel, let me start with you. What was it about Mike's story that inspired you to want to make a film about it?
So first, just a point of clarification, Mike and I created a fictional story that was sort of inspired by the things that happened to him, but didn't deal with any of the actual real cases or the real events. I had become interested in the white supremacist movement. I had sort of stumbled upon it in other research and had come to understand that it was much broader and bigger and more diverse than I had ever realized. And so I was looking for a way into that story, and then I found out about Mike. And I thought, well, that would be a perfect way to get into that world, a perfect proxy to use. And so then I approached Mike about creating a story that we could base the movie on.
And Mike, how did you feel about that initially? I understand that your feelings about Hollywood FBI agents were a little mixed.
Right, and I wasn't really interested in telling a true story. I mean, what made that story interesting and exciting, I didn't think would play on the screen very well. I mean, the fact that it's real life and they're real people and real consequences made the rest of the glamorized part of it a little less interesting to me. And I knew that if Hollywood tends to aggrandize things in a way that I didn't think would be very honest.
And so Daniel Radcliffe plays you essentially in this film. So how closely did you work with both Daniels to make sure that the details were right?
So he doesn't play me.
Oh, he doesn't play you.
He plays an undercover agent in similar circumstances, going undercover in far-right extremist groups. And we worked pretty closely together. We had a couple of discussions where what we were trying to capture is sort of the emotional reality of it.
Right.
What it feels like to be out there all alone, how you deal with the other FBI agents who are working on the case, your superiors, and you're in a situation that is completely unlike any other situation you've ever been in.
Well, I mean, I can't imagine. You were undercover for 12 years, is that right?
Yeah, many different cases.
Right. But does it ever just become another day at the office, or are you stressed out every single day?
Well, if you're with the subjects, you should be stressed. You better be stressed. If you're not, you're probably time to retire. But it does become very workmanlike. I mean, you do understand how sort of conversations work and how people react to different things just through experience.
Right.
So it is a learned technique.
So Daniel, did you work hard to make it a more realistic portrayal of an undercover FBI experience?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. That was one of the things that was of primary interest to me from the beginning. And so one of the things that Mike taught me early on was that being an undercover agent isn't really about physical dominance. It's not about your ability to fight or shoot or things like that. It's about your ability to control conversations and gain trust and be someone that people like and want to be around. And that was a very early sort of jumping off point for us. And it was also one of the things that led me to Daniel Radcliffe as an actor for the role.
So you have to be the guy that everybody likes a little bit.
Right, but also have something that they want.
Right, so you have to outthink them in a way.
Right, and you have to prepare. I mean, a lot of it is developing the case that is based on the criminal activity they're involved in. Right. So that what I always thought was if you're doing something, if you can provide them something that's hard for them to get, they're going to like you, whether your personality is charming or not. And
does that involve any level of criminal activity that you're forced to engage in to diffuse suspicion?
Certainly, as long as it's the activity that the case is surrounding.
Right.
So the idea is that you're helping them commit the crimes they're already engaged in or predisposed to commit.
So when you made this movie, how important was it to set it in modern times?
I felt that it was very important. I mean, that was one of the things that led me to the subject matter to begin with, which was the realization that this movement in this community is much, much larger and broader and more powerful today than I had ever really realized. I think that it's tempting to think that these are things of the past, that they don't really exist today, but once you start looking, you'll find that that's not the case.
So do you think, as someone who's infiltrated these groups for years, that the Islamic terror threat gets so much attention that this homegrown terror threat is ignored to our detriment a little bit? Or
I think actually the way law enforcement handles this threat is much more effective.
Okay.
They don't make spectacular statements about their power and scope. Typically, the crimes they commit are solved very quickly.
Right.
There still is a lot of informant activity and undercover operations that obtain actual weapons that they've accumulated. So I think it's a good way of looking at how we should be looking at these other types of threats. So our reaction is a little more reasonable.
Now, I'm just curious, as an undercover agent, are you also a good actor? And were you able to speak actor speak with Daniel Radcliffe? I mean, did that come into play?
Not really. I mean, certainly.
No acting classes in your past?
Nowhere near Dan Radcliffe.
What, you should know. I'm kidding.
Exactly.
Every undercover agent that I met throughout the course of my career was different and had different ideas, and there were some who took acting lessons.
Yeah.
But I really tried to capture what my friends and family like about me in the roles that I played. So they liked me for the same reason that my friends and families liked me. I just had to change the story around.
Right. Congratulations, Daniel. Mike, Imperium opens August 19th, correct?
Yes, that's right.
Congratulations. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you.